How's everybody doing tonight? Give me a one in the chat if you can hear me. Give me a one in the chat if you can hear me. Shout out to the president for joining me tonight. I know he's a busy guy. My fault. I think I missed accountability this morning. I think I missed was it this morning or yesterday? I can't remember. That was yesterday. I can't remember. I missed accountability. Shout out to Chris Willott, the president. Shout out for Jeffrey Johnson, always supporting. Good evening, all. Appreciate the one. I had to do that because I never forget when Chris and B Dubs was talking for 30 minutes and couldn't nobody hear him. So I always got to do the one in the chat. Shout out to Chris. I was going to stop doing that until him and B Dubs had an issue one show. Always a rough week. Always a rough week. I just can't complain. Job search just wearing me out a little bit, but I really can't complain. It is what I thought it would be. You see it right there. NIST AI 800-1, dual use AI threats. So we're going to talk about the good things and the bad things about it. Shout out to Kim and Chris. I didn't even know NIST AI 800-1 was out there. But the reason why I saw it, but it's in initial public draft. A lot of times I try to wait for them to come out. But since I'm doing it, I actually might respond to the public draft, something I very rarely do. So I don't know, I might get in the Discord and we go through it and make a study GRC issues with the draft. But it looked pretty solid. They're getting it together. I mean, they got a ton of AI stuff. RMF 100, 700-2. Then they had a couple IRs out there. So obviously NIST is trying to get caught up. Well, everybody's really trying to get caught up with their AI stuff. But you know, technology is always usually behind. You know how we do it. If you got any questions, cybersecurity or tech or AI, drop them in the chat. I've been trying to get my AI certs up so I can from a GRC perspective, an assessment perspective, that I'm kind of comfortable in the AI world. So once again, put your question, tech, or in there. Let's go and get going. Once again, if you have any specific questions, tech or cybersecurity, GRC, or AI, put them in the box. Managing misuse risk for dual-use foundational model key points. Once again, provides guidance for organizations developing or deploying foundational models that could be misused for harmful purposes. The publication focuses on this, what we talk about, on risk governance, misuse mitigations, and safeguards around powerful AI models. The models include all the big dogs, the LLMs, large language models, code generation models, multimodal models, and scientific discovery models. Those are all the big, the big guys. ChatGPT, Gemini. Everybody's in the cloud code with the Anthropic. So there's about 4 or 5 big models out there that are the multi-models that really does everything. I'm trying to use the smaller models for GRC. Me and Chris was talking about those tokens can add up pretty quickly. So trying to find a smaller model that kind of focuses on GRC and federal work. The rise of powerful frontier AI models, rapid capability growth in foundational models. I guess ChatGPT 6 is supposed to be coming out. And they said it's supposed to, of course, do some phenomenal things. I think the current one is phenomenal, but AI generating working malware, AI assisting in chemical synthesis design, AI is automating disinformation campaigns. That's the one I worry about. Disinformation. AI scaling cybercrime operations. The script kiddies are getting good because they're having some AI is making red team attacks super easy. Problem: traditional security frameworks focus on accidental failures or bias, not intentional malicious use. And I think we've seen 3 or 4 nation states that were using Cloud Code, Anthropic, and I think Gemini, right? So they were using AI to actually attack companies. And if we're not at that level of capability or maturity, we're going to be easily attacked and ran over, really by script kiddies, to be honest, because they're purchasing these tools or using these tools, and these tools are, for $30 a month or $100 a month, you can wreck some serious havoc. So, and I'm sure in the future we'll delve down into more videos specifically talking about that. Foundational models on large scale machine learning models trained on massive data sets. Characteristics trained on huge data sets. Adaptable through fine tuning. Capable of multiple tasks. Serve as a base model for any application. Example of these tasks: they perform natural language generation, software development, image creation, data analysis, and scientific research. We was talking about misinformation and disinformation. Thing I see, especially with phishing, the emails are a lot better. Usually there was misspellings, or you could just kind of tell the cadence of an email that probably was spam or something that not professional. But now with AI, those emails are getting a lot better. Um, they're actually doing OSINT on you, so they kind of know what you like before they send you the email. So that whole attack vector is getting a lot better. So we're gonna have to make sure we get our zero trust on. Make sure we get our email scanning on. Make sure we get on our micro subnets, because you're gonna have a breach. So you just want to make sure your architecture can have it contained. Dual use of technology, both beneficial and harmful. The concepts already exist in other domains. You see it: nuclear tech, energy versus weapons; biotech, medicines versus bioweapons; encryption, privacy versus criminal concealment; AI models, automation versus cybercrime. Right. So it's always kind of been the issue with technology. You're gonna have we used to call it at DoD the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So you're always gonna have that out there. Um, so once again, that's just for me, that's part of the course, kind of what happens. I'll drop the link if anybody wants to come up. I know everybody's kind of busy and multitasking, but I'll throw it down there. What's up, Ty? Shout out to Ty. Thanks for joining me. This highlights several categories of misuse. AI assisted attackers with exploit development, vulnerability discovery, malware generation, and phishing campaigns. I was talking about the phishing campaigns earlier. Those are the ones that, for me, are getting real scary. Malware, I think, not in the near future. If you look at the nation state that was using Anthropic's agent couldn't get through, ended up generating a couple 0-day attacks to uh, bypass the agency's security. So you're going to have AI creating 0-day malware, which is crazy because those are usually sell for like 50 grand. Fraud and social engineering, voice cloning. We already know the deep fakes are out there, right? So that's nothing new. Once again, it just makes it easier and better for the script kiddies to get in. Automated scanning, identity impersonation. Right? So you can go out there. Shout out to Chris, the president. We can go out there, get his videos, voice cloning, then trick B Dubs into sending money. I'm just playing, but now you can do identity impersonation because a lot of people have their likeness, their voice, their cadence out on the internet, especially if you're doing YouTube videos, you talk at any conferences. And everybody now wants to be on Facebook, wishing your grandma a happy birthday. Now we voice cloning you. All right. So once again, for the script kiddies, that makes those attacks a lot easier. Information warfare, mass propaganda. We were talking about deep fakes and election interference. Now, once again, with AI, all these are easier, and you can do coordinated attacks. Sounds like a good hands-on lab. We might delve into that. Are you doing it or I'm doing it? That's the question, Chris. Are you doing a lab or am I doing a lab? This is the one that's kind of scaring people. Chemical or biological misuse, compound design, toxic synthesis pathways, right? Because you can use stuff that's very common. You can go buy Lowe's and you can concoct some very serious um, weapons off of pretty mundane materials. Get your Breaking Bad on. Cyber criminal groups motivation, of course, financial gain, ransomware, phishing, and identity theft. We were talking about nation state actors, espionage, cyber warfare, and influence campaigns. Come on, man. The young people got to step up, Chris. The young people got to step up. We'll chat about that offline. Chat about that. Oh, man. Once again, terrorist organization, master disruption, propaganda, weapons development, insider threat, that's real big, sabotage, intellectual property theft. So that's it. And now, with LLMs, they're stealing it and just distilling their intellectual property, running 20,000 queries and just taking their information and just populating their LLMs, right? So that's intellectual property theft. Just sheer volume and brute force. This AI 100 describes the risk management lifecycle, capability assessment, threat modeling, safeguard implementation, deployment governance, continuous monitoring. And then, of course, I did an AWS architecture and kind of built proof of concept architecture. Just kind of going to walk through what is a decent architecture for AI. Because from a GRC perspective, I think we kind of need to know what the baseline is. Shout out to the GRC. Capability assessments, what the models can do, questions organizations should ask. Can the model generate malware code, create phishing templates, bypass safeguards, assist in chemical synthesis, automate social engineering? Organizations should test models using red team exercise to discover the risk capabilities. And I actually did a small one probably a couple weeks ago with Copilot. We just kind of walked through. There was a bug through in it where it actually took PII that was in work areas. If you tag it, AI wasn't supposed to read it. A patch broke that. So AI actually read the PII and actually put it in meetings, was sending out in notices. So once again, from a red team exercise, what capabilities do we have in store to help us when something happens in AI? A lot of things when I go on a project site, especially for NIST, the first thing I usually have to do is an incident response exercise. That's something you have to do annually in NIST, and a lot of mid-sized agency and mid-sized companies actually struggle with that. So now, doing a regular one, now I got to figure out what would I do one for AI, right? And I've actually done a few of those, but once again, threat modeling. Shout out to Study GRC, because we always start off with the risk register. I think once you do your risk register, the risk is, okay, what's your threat model off for that particular risk, right? What's your attackers going to do? What's your possible attackers? What's your attack scenarios? What's your system vulnerabilities? Common approaches include attack trees, misuse case analysis, adversarial simulations, Threat model helps organization understand how an AI system could realistically be exploited. And once again, I did the one with Copilot because that's something that really happened to people. So once again, um, what would your organization do if that happened? Right? Could you figure out what PII uh, got pushed out? Who it got pushed out? Are we logging everything we're supposed to log so we can say, okay, this thing happened in AI, it logged here, and these are the people that asked the questions. These are the meetings that it got pushed out. Can we track that in the logs? And are we pushing the AI logs to our SIEM? Right? Sometimes rogue AIs or prompt injection could tell people to delete the logs. So you want to actually push those logs off to your SIEM, right? So now once it's into your SIEM, um, do we have logging? Do we have dashboards for certain attacks? In AI, what should we looking for? Right, we know what those are for standard red team exercise, but I don't think a lot of people have dashboards for AI. So what are those, and what should we be showing the op team? What should we be showing the C-suite? What should we be showing compliance? What should we be showing compliance? Because each one of those teams, got to remember, I used to work for a Fortune 500 company years ago. Each one of those teams have different things they're responsible for and different things they want to see. Once again, technical guardrails and part of the AI, detect and block prompt requesting malware generation, weapons designs, illegal activities, output filtering, detect harmful output before they reach the user, right? And once again, from a guardrails, we can say, what are we not letting into the model? And if this comes out for the model, we're going to redact it and block it, right? So there's two sides of that. So once again, if we're input filtering, we might want to put that on the dashboard and say, hey, these particular actions, chemical or bad words, these people are putting these prompts in there, right? If we log that, then we can say, okay, we need to go visit these people. Either they're trying to poison our data or do something they're not supposed to do. Can we get that to come up on a dashboard? If PBO does 10 things bad in a day, he should come up on a list and get a visit, right? Do we have that type of logging so we can do those type of reports, so we can do those type of preventative things? Give me 1 second. My little heater here is baking. PBO's back. Felt like I was in the sauna for a minute. It's a little cold here though. We got the little, I don't know where it came from. We was 60 a couple days ago. Now we got snow and 14 this morning. So third person people wasn't happy. Once again, technical guidelines, training models to refuse harmful requests, follow safety policies, red team testing, simulating attacks against the model. Shout out to my man Ty. I know he's definitely doing the red team things. Once again, I'm gonna drop the link if anybody wants to come up. No pressure. No pressure. Beyond the model itself, organizations must secure deployment infrastructure, API authentication. You don't want anybody to get your API keys and run your bill up, right? Identity verifications, rate limiting. And once again, we did an AWS guideline architecture. We're going to walk through these pieces that we have in our architecture to show you what it looks like, especially from an AWS perspective. Everybody knows AWS is my cloud of choice. Monitoring user activity, abuse detection. These safeguard prevents attackers from exploiting our AI system at scale. That's one thing we want to do is we want to we want to help ourselves, right? We want to make sure once again we have those guardrails in effect. And two, if something happens and we get breached, and we got to go to HIPAA or IRS. These are the things they're going to be looking for to make sure we weren't negligent, right? We just didn't spin up an app and did a proof of concept with no security and put it out there and lost federal data. Most people know the Fed is my kind of where I made most of my money, doing mostly a lot of IRS work and a lot of FISMA work. So I always think from a Fed perspective, big company perspective, right? PBO is kind of chunky. That's how PBO eats. So once again, API authentications, identity verification, rate limiting, monitor use activity, abuse detection. Once again, we're trying to prevent attackers from exploiting our AI system at scale. And the big thing, once again, we don't want to be considered negligent. Can't be negligent on the PBO's watch, talking in the third person. Let's roll. Governance policies, we got to have our policies. Who can access the model? What user case are permitted? How abuse is handled? Example of governance control. We talked about this acceptable use policy, our usage auditing, customer verification, and incident reporting procedure. We were talking about the incident report. We already got to have our incident report plan, our incident report policy, our incident report procedure. Then annually, we got to run an incident response exercise annually. I think they want it now semi-annually, but once again, got to have our acceptable use policies. Now, part of the acceptable use is what AIs can we use? Because we know there's shadow AIs out there, right? So we got to get people thinking this is the company AI, this is what been validated or verified to do company work, right? Don't do company work on your personal AI because you will be fired, right? But so once again, those are the government controls, and we always got to make sure our policies are in effect, especially from a GRC perspective. Misuse risk evolves over time. Organization must be continuously monitor user activity, suspicious prompts, emerging attack techniques. Continuous to monitor includes security audits, model updates, and vulnerability assessments, right? We talked about the OWASP top 10 for LLM, so we definitely got to get that in the mix. We got to do our security audits. We're going to be doing our NIST 853, our IRS Pub 1075. Our part of that now definitely has got to be your NIST AI RMF, right? All that's got to be part of your assessment and your continuous monitoring. So what are we scanning for? Infrastructure, right? Because we're training our model, we're moving data to our model. Usually we got a data lake where we saying, this is our data or this is data about. This is where we get in it to train. Right? Big companies are using their data to train. That's the next step. Right? A lot of times smaller companies are just using models already created, but we know Study GRC is trying to get more subscribers. So what data can we show that says these subscribers will stay and be active in Study GRC, right? That's the data we would get from them, that we would do additional training for that model to make it specifically for a particular business, right? That's the next level of an AI. ChatGPT is cute, right? But if I'm a Fortune 500 company, or if I'm a big Deloitte, I got billions of data points, right? That one of our most valuable customers, who's going to pay the most, who's going to have less churn. So you got millions of data points. If you're a Fortune 500 company and you've been around for 50, 60, 100 years, you want to use that data to train your AI so you can get that specific response from that model that's specifically for your company that can assist you to the next level. And you're not just getting general responses. My favorite, once again, 801, NIST AI risk management. We were talking about that. The AI RMF. AI RMF core functions include govern, establish policies, the map, identify risks within the system, measure, assess AI performance, manage, implement risk management strategy, right? Really, that's the CSF 2.0. Oh, boo! No, I'm just playing. Everybody know I like 800-53, but once again, you gotta use the NIST special publications. Each one really has a special niche, right? So the RMF is really the policy and the strategic direction of the AI for NIST specifically. Major lessons learned from the 100 foundation models introduce new categories of misuse risk. Technical safeguards alone are not sufficient. Effective mitigation require governance, threat modeling, monitoring, incident response. Organization deploy AI must treat misuse risk as a cybersecurity and a national security concern. I always love this because they're gonna throw national security in there because they know you're dealing with federal clients. So that's why it always makes it interesting. Once again, we're used to this the standard risk assessment. Now, once again, everybody's using AI or getting ready to use AI. So, from an assessment standpoint, do you know what to look for and what once again what it requires? Governance, threat modeling, monitoring, and incident response. Yeah, that's the one I generated out. You see it, AWS architecture using bedrocks. That's their wrapper they put around their FM foundational model and part of their large language model. See, the user comes in, and we're going to touch each one of these layers. CloudFront, WAF, AWS Lambda, and get no mistake about it. Azure has their standard version of this. Google has their standard version of this. AWS is not definitely not the only. And even if you use Anthropic and you set it up yourself, you still need a lot of some of these key components around there in some way. And I think shout out to Chris, we might do an open source version. Like if we were standing it up ourselves, what would we use for the CDN, WAF, Web Application Firewall, guardrails if we were doing open source. So let's kind of roll through this real quick. Each layer, let's go to one edge and abuse prevention. We saw the cloud front plus the AWS WAF in front of your application. WAF gives you rate-based rules, request inspection, first line filtering before the request even reaches the API gateway where you're at. Public facing generative AI apps that helps reduce prompt spraying, basic abuse automation, and traffic burst. The API gateway adds request startling, quotas for further limit misuse of the application boundary, control access to guardrails and related resources. Amazon Cognito for end user auth or sign in for internal and machine-to-machine calling. The main goal is to avoid anonymous high-risk access, attach prompts in response to a user or client identity, support tier controls such as strict limits for new users or privileged access for vetted analysts only. AWS Generative AI Security Guidance also emphasize least privilege access, encourage control access to guardrails and related resources. You know, we always talk about that least privilege. We got to get our least privilege together. So let's kind of, once again, check the model out and just point those out. So you see at the top is the cloud front. They were talking about the WAF. Then the right is the Amazon Cognito IAM, Entity Access Management, application authentication, and least privilege access. So once again, these are the services we putting together to help secure our use of generative AI and LLMs, large language models, right? So once again, this is a spec approved by AWS, and basically what they recommend you set up. And so all the users, so this is really all this is up before you get to you see right there Bedrock and Amazon Bedrock Cloud Titan before you actually get to the models and run it. Once again, you gotta go to identity and access management, Amazon API keys. Are you the right person? How long can you run it, and how many prompts can you run, right? We can put a limit on it so we don't have anybody trying to DDoS our AI or run our bill up unnecessarily. So let's keep going. Like I said, we're just going to kind of touch on each one of these layers. I thought it was interesting, once again, from a GRC perspective, and what will we be looking for from our architects to do? Policy enforcement before and after the model. The core security layer is Amazon Bedrock guardrails. Guardrails can evaluate prompts and responses using configurable content filters, denied topics, word filters, sensitive information filters, and prompt attack protection. This can block harmful content and replace it with a configured message, which makes them ideal for misuse risk control. Model invocation layer. The app calls the Bedrock foundational model. Only after requests pass, we saw the WAF authentication, application logic. Smart orchestration layer in Lambda or container service can add business specific text such as user risk scoring, prompt normalization, allow and deny list tagging, routing to different models or stricter guardrail versions based on the use case. AWS prescriptive guidance explicitly show Lambda as a useful component for a custom parser or control logic around Bedrock based workflows. So I think a lot of times when we think about large language models, we just think about us putting prompts in. Usually, when you work for a company, they're embedded in a workflow. So I'm taking a phone call, client service gets it. I know this client, so I might use AI to rate this client. Is this a person that might buy services? Is this a person at risk? Is this IP a known scammer? So you can use AI to do a lot of things with that, not just putting in the prompts. 9 times out of 10, once again, you're going to put it in a workflow. So right there above the blue box, you see that's where the Lambda is. AWS Lambda, version logic, policy checking. Once again, the Amazon Bedrock guardrails, input and output filtering, denied topics, PI filters, prompt attacks, and detection. So the one thing when you talk about AWS, right, when you run LLMs or FM foundational models, all the stuff we read is really the infrastructure around the model before you run it. And I think that's what AWS, Azure, they're trying to add values to those models. Once again, because out of the box, you're not going to get input filtering, output filtering, API keys, mitigation, rate limiting, right? The models, they don't even think about that, right? So I think the cloud vendors are adding that value onto that. And of course, hopefully in the future, shout out to Chris, he wants me to do more hands-on labs, and I'm trying to get him to do it, but we'll talk about that later. So let's keep rolling. We almost done. Walking it on down. Here I drop the link again, or I show the link. It's the last one. And if everybody wants to join me, no rush, no scary, just count it on down. Logging evidence. We were talking about logging earlier. Enable Bedrock model invocation logging to CloudWatch logs S3 or both. CloudWatch gives you near real-time dashboards. We were talking about dashboards for different executives and different businesses. Dashboard metric filters, alarm, log insight queries. S3 gives you durable evidence retention for audits, investigation, and downstream analytics. AWS documents Bedrock invocation logging as the best practice for robust generative AI applications. Right. So once again, Bedrock is kind of the wrapper, and inside that, when you do certain prompts and invoke certain things, it logs it inside Bedrock, and you can push it to CloudWatch logs. And the other part about it is we're going to push it from CloudWatch to our SIEM. Right, we want to get our login in a centralized location so we can run trends. We can do MITRE. It's going to show you TTPs of even inside LLMs, how they're moving, how they're attacking you. So you really need that in one central place so you can get your MITRE TTP analysis on. Right, but once again, that's the top of the pyramid. That's your maturity levels, very, very mature, right? Detection and alerting, CloudWatch metric filters and alarms to detect suspicious patterns, such as a spike in blocked prompts. So one of the things we could say is if we have blocking, if we start getting a lot of block, that's almost a DDoS attack. So why are we getting so many blocks? Repeated denial topic hits, elevated prompt attack detection, sudden surges in token use or unusual request rates by account, IP or API key. Route those alerts through Event Bridge SNS and your SOC workflow. Bedrock monitors guidance, also support for CloudWatch-based monitoring of invocation activities and guardrail evaluation. You can do it in CloudWatch, but once again, I'm usually trying to push that down to Splunk or AWS has their security lake where you can log all their stuff. So whatever is your corporate SIM, I would try to get it down there. And you see there right under the yellow, right under the green, response handling, once again, then we have our logging, CloudWatch logs and metrics, invocation logs, alarms and dashboard, event bridge, alerts to analysts, all that's in S3. That's our object log bucket where we have our disabled keys, quarantine users, and all our data. Then the other S3 is long-term storage for evidence. Then at the bottom, you see optional detection, guard duty, cloud trilling, AWS config. So I think these are the last two. Centralized security operations. We were talking about that. 4 security relevant events into AWS Security Hub for centralized finding management, correlation and case triage. Use Amazon Guard Duty for broader AWS threat detection and CloudTrail for auditability of API actions across the account. AWS Security Reference Architecture recommends centralized monitoring with services such as Security Hub, Guard Duty, AWS Config, and CloudTrail. Once again, I'll go from Security Hub to, we got money, send it to the big dog Splunk. But once again, the key word that you see 7, we got to have it centralized. So once again, we can track it from start to finish in our org. We're not trying to go to CloudWatch, CloudTrail. IBM's got theirs. I was at a company that had 5 different SIMs. So trying to track it through your organization was brutal, right? So hopefully we want to get mature and get it in a central location. Once again, the links there if anybody wants to come up. No pressure, no pressure. The automated response for repeated or severe misuse trigger your Lambda remediation. Lambda is just code you have out there. It could be Python, Java. There's a lot of different languages. So when a certain trigger hits, it runs this code to do certain remediation. AWS, of course, uses Python for a lot of their remediation. A lot of people write Python for their Lambda. Actions such as disabling API keys, lowering a user quota, switching the client to a stricter guardrail policies, forcing a manual review, blocking IP via WAF. These close the loop from detection to containment and usually differs between logging misuse and actually managing misuse risk. The same AWS logging event stack supports this kind of automation. So once again, once you write it in CloudWatch or CloudTrail, once you get it in there, you can say this IP address in the last minute sent 20 chats to our LLM that we blocked, right? So that hit a certain threshold. So now we can block that IP, or we can put that, change their user quota from they could run 200 or 300 prompts in a day. We cutting that down to 10, right? So now, once again, you're not logging, you're taking action, right? It's called SOAR, right? So you can, as part of your security. So now, once you hit certain thresholds, like they said, now you can act on it, right? Once again, if you're maturing at that level, that's really where you need to be, where your architecture is self-healing and actually blocking attacks, because once again, you have threshold. So we used to say if we get 100 requests in a second, that's probably a brute force attack from a machine, right? So we just want to block that IP address. We could say, this EC2 or this VM is on this particular subnet. We blocking that IP from getting to this subnet now. Shout out to my man Kiki and Jazz. I'm glad you can join us. Hopefully, Over the Pond is treating you well. Once again, the same logging and VidTrack stack supports this kind of automation. And really, that's from SecOps, DevSecOps. This is really where you want to get to, right? So now your environment or blocking your attackers, right? You just reviewing after the fact or sending you an email, so you don't have to act because your infrastructure has acted for you. Once again, different level of maturity. And once again, at the bottom where you see cloud watch logs, events, S3, Lambda, and at the bottom you see the optional. And right after that, Bedrock response handling the Lambda in your API service. That's where your Lambdas reading those logs and once again making assessments of what to do. I'm blocking this IP. I'm changing the rate limit. I'm actually shutting down this service because it looks like a hacker is taking advantage of it. So I'm just gonna shut it down, right? So once again, you can have your infrastructure making those type of business decisions. Once again, it's under if you look it up, it's under SOAR, SOAR. All right, security operations. I forgot what but the R is response. Right, I've done a few labs on it. It's super interesting. I always think that I might switch out of GRC and go back to DevSecOps. Right, that seems a lot of interesting until you get a call at 2 a.m. and you think the bad guys got you and you sweat. It's like, yeah, I think I want to stay in that GRC lifestyle. Right, so you gotta pick your poison though. But once again, I think that was it for me. I just wanted to touch on it. Once again, let me go to the top. Just want to touch on it. There it is. It's an initial public draft. I've never responded to a public draft. I might. I had a few things I was thinking about responding. Once again, I'm sure they have a ton of people also responding. I always leave that to other people. I don't. I don't know if that's appropriate or correct. Um, Once again, I dropped the link. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. I stay online to see if anybody has any questions. Once again, let's go back to their NIST AI 800-1, initial public draft, managing misuse risk for dual use foundational model. Any technology you're going to have a dual use good and bad for it. So I thought that was interesting. Um, but once again, I think script kiddies are getting a lot better because they're using AI in their attacks. Which I mean, that's how I always work. It's gonna be good or bad about it. I appreciate you, Mr. Whitlock. Shout out to the president of Study GRC. Come check us out. I'm usually over there Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central. Correct me on that, Chris, if I'm wrong. I be struggling with my times. He be struggling with his time. Shout out to them. Once again, I would appreciate everybody. And if you need to reach me, I'm usually in, once again, they're Discord, usually out in this cybersecurity streets. I got to be a little more responsive. I've been on my job search, so that's kind of been throwing me off a little bit, but it's all good out there. It's a crappy job market, so it is what it is. Let's see what my man Casual Economist says. Script young adults. Facts. We don't move them up from kiddies to young adults. Facts. I give you that. Shout out to Casual Economist. Definitely one of the day ones when I had about 250 subscribers out in these streets, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. So shout out to the script young adults, though. Yeah, they out there. They getting brutal out here with all these tools now. Everybody's using AI to be a little better in life for the good and the bad. Once again, I'll hang out for a little bit, see if you have any extra questions. I appreciate everybody for joining me. I just want to touch on a few things. Once again, I think that AI train's kind of flowing. I'm thinking about getting the CompTIA, what is Sec AI Plus? Yeah, I think that's it. I think Chris has mentioned it. A couple people mentioned that. It was Chris. I know Combo Course has mentioned it. I've seen a couple people mention that. I think Chris mentioned it. I think a couple people, man. So I've been looking at that. I might take a shot at that. It didn't seem too brutal. Shout out to my man. I appreciate you. If you got any questions, just let me know. Like I said, I've been going live. I'm going live Thursday and Friday at noon, lunch and learn Eastern time. I gotta figure out what videos I'm gonna do. PBO be late. I'm posting the videos. A lot of times I just decide the day before. I usually just be studying or putting in apps. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm gonna do my video on Thursday and Friday. So Thursday I try to do something more societal, kind of big or something a little different in that way. Just kind of makes a little different. So my man, Sec X is the senior level. What is that? Sec X is the senior level. What is that, Chris? Shout out to my favorite PM, Larry. What's up, Larry? Glad you can. What is? Elaborate on that, Chris. Sec X. Is that a CompTIA, sir, or are we doing something bad in AI? What we doing with that, Chris Whitlock? I need you to expand on that or come up or something. I need a little clarification on that. Security X. I was talking about CompTIA Sec AI Plus. Me and Larry was chopping it up with combo courses. I think he's doing some videos on the Security AI Plus. Is that a CompTIA thing? Former CASP Plus. Is that former CASP? Yeah, I got to do a little research on that. I never got, once again, I did a lot of fair work there. Okay, CompTIA is set. You ready? Okay. I'm going to dig into that, Sunshine. I appreciate that. I was not aware that. I'm not, I've got the Security Plus, but I let it lapse, which was the stupidest thing I've done. I didn't get my continuous ed. So I do got the CISP. I had a couple great interviews, and they said if they hire me, I got to get the CISP, which I already knew that. There's no pressure. It is what it is. Okay, I think he's saying what they took the CAS and put it into the set. Okay, I need to get into that. I think CASB's level 3 in 8570. I know, man. That's one thing. That's one reason I haven't got a job because I said I must be in a remote job, and I don't. That didn't happen. So I interviewed for 2 on-site jobs, and I'm like right there with you, Larry. I was breaking down almost when I had to go into their office to interview. I was breaking down. I was like, oh my god. I think I've been remote for 4 years. 4 years. So I'm with you on that, man. Yeah, I'm just so yeah. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna have to go in somebody's office, man. I gotta buy all new clothes, man. I was eating so good while I was working remote. Too much barbecue. I gotta get it together in 2026. So now I was with you, man. Appreciate Sunshine and Chris. I'll definitely check that out. I think Casby's level 3 for the 8572. So most of the big vendors want you to have CISSP. Which for me is a management test. So I can talk about I wouldn't say dislike of the CISP. I come from a technology background, so even though I advise the C-suite, I'm still a technology guy. So the first time I took CISP, I didn't pass by 6 because I didn't think of it as a management test. So some of the stuff as a technology, it was just wrong. As soon as I made that switch, I I passed the Security Plus like a week later, and I just never went back and got the CISP. Yeah, that's what I thought. CASB was 3. Yeah, I thought I saw that on there. But once again, a lot of the practice managers, which PBL is not trying to be a practice manager, is they want you to have the CISP. Oh, they love it. Oh, they love it. They love the CISP. I'm thinking about jumping on that too. NVIDIA has jumped into the. Oh, I didn't know that. Lots of partnership. Fact, I didn't know NVIDIA jumped in. I was looking at a couple of their certs. They have a AI infrastructure and operational certs for AI and NVIDIA. Oh yeah, everybody's. I'm surprised NVIDIA jumped into bed with Tata. But I guess they need a lot of people implementing AI, and Tata's huge. We know Tata's huge, so I can see that. I'm sure along with the big four, so I'm sure they all. I'm sure Nvidia wants them to push out Nvidia and AI and how they work. They have a nice track for AI certifications. The only thing I don't like about Nvidia is they like you to take your. They have no testing sites. You got to take it from your house, and people are watching you. You got to show them around your office. I just really didn't like that. So yeah, once again, I might take a couple of the Nvidia AI certs. I don't know. A lot of people reckon even AWS is taking Nvidia certs because AWS has their chip, but they have a ton of Nvidia chips they're buying. So a lot of the AWS guys are actually getting Nvidia certs, certifications. So that's infrastructure. I don't know if I want to go that deep into the hardware of NVIDIA, but a lot of people say from an AI perspective, since they are the chip of choice right now, they are the new Intel. In the old days, if you wasn't running Intel, right, you wasn't doing, or I'm old enough if you wasn't running Sun Solaris from a Unix standpoint. So that's the operating or the chip. Or in the old days, if you weren't running an IBM mainframe, right? They were the infrastructure of choice. So they always have though through history. So now it's Nvidia turn to dominate and make all the money. Shout out to Oracle. They did it for 20 years for the database. IBM did it. Microsoft did it from the desktop. So cloud, AWS did it. They had their 10-year run where they're dominating. So everybody has it. So yeah, Kiki, I can see them jumping in with Tata, because they're big. Um, Especially India, that whole chase the sun type. So everybody had Indian employees for that off-hour support. So, uh oh. Oh, I love Solaris. When I first started doing Oracle at DoD, we were running Solaris. For me, Solaris, I love that operating system from Unix. Then we finally went to Red Hat, but yeah, okay, you got a little age. Then I want to. I can see you. Yeah, Solaris. I love Solaris. Solaris probably was my third job, probably 2019. I was at DOD because Solaris ain't cheap. Most you had to have a little. Your company had a little size and a little money because Solaris was not cheap. I saw them Solaris's licenses. Nah, Solaris's was the big time. Shout out to Solaris. Yeah, we were at Solaris forever. Then Red Hat finally took them out. Now those were the days. Once again, put any questions, cybersecurity chat. We're gonna run them on down. Probably 5 more minutes. We're gonna run it to 8 o'clock. The PBO gonna take a break and get back to studying his AI, going from my AWS machine learning associate. So part of their AI. No facts. It's not cheap, but I love that. That was a sturdy operating system. And for Oracle ran on it like a chat because you couldn't run Oracle on a PC because they couldn't thread. The threading back then on Intel couldn't handle that type of database. Now, yeah, Solaris. That's when I was trying to be an Oracle DBA. That's what I was, an Oracle DBA. They were training me on Sun Solaris. I got pretty good at it, but it always sucked. I'm usually a much better developer. So even though I was a DBA, they kept sending me to help the development team. I was so pissed. I was so pissed. I wanted to be a DBA, but I had those skills once again, and I was doing Oracle and Java. And we were running Oracle on Sun Solaris. Once again, reminiscing. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I try to be some consistent. Come check me out Thursday at Lunch and Learn and Friday at Lunch and Learn. I'm doing last Thursday. PBO was an on-site interview with a mid-size consulting firm. I think it went well. We'll see. They're supposed to let me know. But I'm like my man Larry, trying to make a one last ditch for remote work. But PBO believes he's going to be in somebody's office shortly. Once again, if you need me, just reach out to me. I'm usually out on Discord, or if you leave, a lot of people just leave a message on videos because I usually see all those messages. So if you want to jump on a Discord meeting or LinkedIn, I usually simulcast on LinkedIn and YouTube. So a lot of times LinkedIn, you can hit a button and go live on LinkedIn or do a quick meeting. So I do a lot of those. Chris sent somebody to me today. I got to respond back to him. So shout out to them. Coffee with the Mafia is a study GRC thing. I think I'm level 3, but if you need to get the PBO and have a conversation, I'm usually good about 15 minutes, especially since I'm unemployed. But once again, I'm studying and applying, so no pressure, no pressure. So I'm usually available for if you need to chat with me. Or a lot of times, once again, the president of GRC sends people to me, which is always good. Once again, I'm always bothering those guys. See what my man Casual Economist said. I was casual. I had to break that off. Long story short, I did an interview with Tech G years ago. True story, probably about 3 years ago. And in my interview with him, I told young guys or young people, if you go into the office, that cuts out 95% of your competition, right? Because they have to be local, 30, 40-minute drive. So that cuts out 97% of your competition. That video came up, so I was like, maybe that's somebody sending me a hint. Shout out to Tech G. But I thought that was, I wouldn't say coincidental, but that video showed up and it was a short. So for some reason that made me smile. I'm like, I need to take my own advice. I was applying because I've been that way for the last 4 years, casual economist. So switching now is kind of like, so yeah, so I just opened it up to full remote and 100% going in. So I was trying to get full remote only, but the job market's so bad that I just had to open it up to everything, which that's part of the game. That's part of what it is. Once again, drop any questions, cybersecurity in the chat. I want to appreciate everybody for joining me. Shout out to Casual Economist. Shout out to Sunshine. She made me smile with the Solaris 10, one of my operating systems. The first operating system I ever worked on professionally was when I was in college. I worked for the research. I was doing micro focus COBOL. I just thought about that. That was my first internship work study on campus. That was 1984. I was doing micro focus COBOL. So I've been in this game for a little bit. Shout out to the president of GRC, Chris Whitlock, for joining. Shout out to the Fed PM, Larry. I'm usually over there with Combo Courses and Larry, bothering those guys. So definitely come check us and them out. I try to support everybody. Shout out Jeffrey Johnson. I always support me. I appreciate him. Kiki and James overseas, always joining me. Shout out to my man Todd. Always checking on the old guy, making sure I'm okay. I think that was everybody. If I miss anybody, I want to apologize. I'm out. Everybody have a nice week. Don't forget to come and check me out. Lunch and Learn Thursday and Friday. You'll see those surprise videos posted soon. I got to figure out what I want to talk about. I got to do a much better job of that. I appreciate you, Larry. I'm out. Everybody have a nice day. Once again, I got to get back to this AI studying. It's hard to study when you're older, but PBO trying to make it happen. Once again, I appreciate everybody for joining me.